Now, I'd like to introduce my brother, Conrad Youngman Jr., and he is going to speak also. And at the end, we're going to have a time for us all to share memories if you want to take a moment to do so. And I didn't raise a glass.
Thank you all for coming. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to celebrate my dad. I know some of you traveled a long way to get here, and I know my dad would be overjoyed to see so many people that he loved all in one place. Okay. My father was a remarkable person. He was my greatest hero and role model. I could stand up here for hours and share with you stories of his incredible generosity, special deeds that he did for others, tremendous things that he was able to accomplish, and beautiful things that he said and did. Really, I could stand up here and talk about how great my dad was for days. But I'm not going to do that. No. Because you're here, it means you all have your own memories of my father. Stories that you own and tell about the man that we all loved. Instead, I'm going to share with you some of the lessons that he taught me through his words, but mostly by the way that he lived his life. My father believed in good, honest, hard work. If it's worth doing right. Work hard first, play later. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done to the best of your ability. If you set your mind to it and work hard, you can achieve anything. When my father was 5 years old, my grandpa Elmer gave him his own cow to milk and be responsible for. And he spent the early mornings of his childhood sitting on a bucket near his dad, talking to an old girl named Bessie. When I heard about that, sometime during my teen years, I remember asking, in kind of a joking manner, "Gosh, Dad, you had to go to work when you were 5?" Dad thought about it for a moment. He said, "No, I didn't have to go to work. I wanted to. I didn't think it was fair that my dad had to get up in the dark and do it all by himself while I lay in bed." My father loved growing up on an Iowa dairy farm. He loved his parents. He loved his brothers and sisters. He loved his big extended family. My father was proud of where he came from. My dad believed in being dependable. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Be on time. Don't make others wait for you. Their time is just as valuable as yours, probably more. When my father was 16 years old, he was given the job of bus driver for Van Meter Elementary School. Now, I don't know about you, but I vividly remember riding on a big yellow school bus, and I remember it being loud and rowdy, full of distractions. All 3 of my kids rode on a big yellow school bus, and I remember at the time thinking, there is no way I would have a teenager drive them to school. And I asked my dad about it, and I said, "How did you get the parents to trust you to do that job?" And he replied, he said, "Well, most of them had no problem with it. The ones who did, I just knocked on their door and introduced myself." I guess they all decided that my dad was dependable, and he was. One of my dad's most incredible traits was his deep respect for others. I never once heard him speak badly of another person. I never heard him gossip. I never heard him talk behind someone's back. When my dad spoke with someone, he looked them in the eye, gave them his undivided attention, and genuinely cared about what they had to say. Treat people how you want them to treat you. If you can't find something good to say, don't say anything at all. After graduating from dental school at the University of Iowa, my dad joined the Navy and was stationed in Key West, Florida, where he had me. During this time, his commanding officer was named Sal Esposito. The way Dad told it, Sal was a man's man, a player's coach. And pretty soon, all of my dad's colleagues were calling him by his first name, Sal. But not my dad. My dad believed that anyone in that position deserved his utmost respect, so he always called him Dr. Esposito. This went on for a few years, and as the group's time was coming to an end, jobs were scarce. Only one position became available at the VA hospital in Miami, and my dad was the first one called. I remember my dad thinking back on that, about how fortunate he was to get his start that way. And these are his own words. He said, "It wasn't because I was the smartest, because I wasn't. It wasn't because I was the best, because I wasn't. I think it was because everyone else called him Sal, and I called him Dr. Esposito." That's not what I think. I think Dad got the call because he worked hard. And he was dependable. And he respected others. My dad was always a bit mischievous and deceptively funny. He loved to make other people laugh, but most of the time, I think he loved to make himself laugh. One time when he and Rosemary were in San Francisco, they observed a group of tourists taking pictures and barking at the sea lions down on Fisherman's Wharf. My dad couldn't resist. He squeezed into the group, pointed at the sea lions, and with stone-cold sarcasm said, "I hear they taste like chicken." Dad loved to tell that story, and he'd laugh so hard each time, tears would roll down his cheeks. Usually he couldn't finish it. I loved my dad's sense of humor, and we laughed together every chance we got. I will miss laughing with my father. To wrap up, I'd like to share with you what I think is my dad's greatest lesson, the one that he lived by every day of his life. And that's the lesson to always be positive. Look on the bright side of things. Everything happens for a reason. Things could be worse. There's power in positive thinking. I never saw my dad have a bad day in his life. When things tried to bring him down, he'd crack a joke, spend time with his family, go out in the yard and piddle, make a tea time with a friend. You see, life was full of joy for my father. He loved every minute of it. His time on earth was a gift, and I'm grateful for every minute I got to spend with him. I spoke with my dad for the last time the day before he passed. He was in the hospital. He was getting a blood transfusion. I'd heard about the day before when they almost lost him on the golf course and had to call 911 and take him to the hospital. I also heard how he parred his last hole. I knew he wasn't doing well. "How did you golf today?" he immediately said, and asked me to describe the course that I had played and all my best shots. "How are my grandkids?" He was so proud of his 5 grandchildren. We went through each one, and it was 5 minutes before he even gave me a chance to find out about him, which was the reason why I'd called. "I'm doing great. I'll be out of here in no time. This place is better than the Hilton Hotel. I've got a tea time booked for Tuesday." My dad always told us he would live to be 100 years old. At least 100, he'd say. And I never doubted him. But even though he didn't, the lessons that he taught me will. And his memory will. Because there won't be a day that I won't think about him and miss him. Thank you all for coming.